You're preparing the next generation of students to lead right away in their future professions.
Because if you are not excited about learning for the rest of your life, you're already behind.
Okay, welcome back everybody to the Iowa Business Council's Iowa Business Cast webcast series where we interview Iowa Business Council members. And today we're joined by a very special guest, Dr. Rachelle Keck, who serves as the 14th president of Grandview University. President Keck additionally serves as a member of the IBC's Business Education Roundtable, where we bring together not only our business executives, but also leaders in higher education and K through 12 education to talk about ways to better align workforce development strategies for current workforce needs and the state of Iowa's future workforce needs as well. So we're really excited to welcome Rachelle to the hot seat here. She is a transformational leader serving again as Grandview University's 14th president. She's the first woman to hold this role in the institution's history. That goes back 130 years, as we will talk about. But her background is unique as well. She is a graduate of Wartburg College with a degree in psychology. She went on to earn her law degree from the University of Iowa and then her PhD in education from Drake University. But what I think makes you such a unique fit for college presidency and then obviously our organization is you're an entrepreneur as well. You started your own law firm, you started your own business, and now you're leading a great university in the Des Moines area. So you have just a great background. So Rachelle, welcome to the Iowa BizCast.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, let's start off with an overview of Grandview University. The university was founded more than 130 years ago, almost 130 years ago here in Des Moines. You enroll more than 1,800 students across more than 35 majors. Additionally, the university boasts a greater than 98% placement rate for your graduates. What are some of the key characteristics of the university that make you most proud, and what else would you share about your university?
Well, thank you for sharing all of those, what we could like to call fast facts about Grandview. And of course, those change and are updated with each academic year. I am just finishing my fourth year as president here at Grandview. I can't believe it's been 4 years. I'm about to embark on year five. In some respects, it seems like I've been here forever. And in others, it seems like I just was pulling into Des Moines yesterday. Um, Wow, there are so many things about Grandview that I'm incredibly proud of. A couple things that stand out. We are the only Danish-founded university in America. That's been kind of a fun discovery for me. I knew it when it was part of the presidential search process. Didn't really stick out as anything incredibly important or significant. However, since taking the helm as Grandview's president, I have done Ancestry.com and lo and behold, found out that I am more Danish than anything. Kind of a fun thing. I always knew that my parents were German and Scandinavian is all I was ever told. And so then when we did Ancestry, found out I don't know, I think 47% Danish or something like that. So kind of a fun thing. But what's unique about being founded by Danish immigrants is that we at Grandview were founded based on the principles of a Danish theologian and scholar by the name of NFS Grundtvig. And he believed that education was for everyone, not just the wealthy elite, the way it was back when he was espousing these ideas. And he also believed that education was for your whole life in two respects, for the whole length of your life and also for the whole, all facets of your life, mind, body, and spirit. And if you look at Grandview's formal logo, it almost looks like a W or a kind of a loose W, and that is designed to represent mind, body, and spirit. So that's something that's kind of fun about Grandview. You shared that we are celebrating 130 years. Um, so we're having a big birthday party this fall and celebrating that all year. But in that 130 years, it's just fascinating to look back at how Grandview started and where we are today. Um, we were founded in 1896 by Danish Lutheran immigrants, initially as a high school academy, a
Mm.
private high school academy for Danish immigrants to be educated, but also maintain their Danish heritage and their Danish traditions. We then adapted and became a private 2-year college nearly 70 years before the community college system was even developed in the state of Iowa. We then went on to become a baccalaureate, bachelor's degree institution in the 70s. Nursing was our first 4-year degree that we offered. In the early 2000s, we became a university after starting our first master's degree program. Now have 8 master's degree programs, 6 of which have been started in the last 10 years, and we have 2 on deck. We are in the process of raising money as part of our capital, or excuse me, our comprehensive campaign that we're in the silent phase for right now, to start a physician associate program. Many people are familiar with physician assistant, but you may remember that recently Governor Reynolds changed that terminology to associate from assistant to more accurately reflect the breadth and the depth of what physician associates do. And then maybe it was 3 weeks ago, our Board of Trustees unanimously adopted our first ever PhD program here
Wow.
at Grandview. And so we have just been about adaptation from our inception, which really goes back to Joe, the idea of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's all about market responsiveness, not only responsive, but also being proactive and anticipating what the market will need moving forward.
That's incredible. And that's a good segue into our next question or topic. And you talked a lot about it already, but one of the things I've long admired about Grandview University is the university's emphasis on its student-centric approach. You're preparing the next generation of students to lead right away in their future professions. How do you keep this aspect front and center despite all the other things, both good and bad, that are coming at higher education today?
I'm sure you'll hear this from most leaders of higher education institutions, but focusing on the mission.
Yeah.
What is our mission? Why are we here? It's easy to get distracted by the new shiny things. But at the heart of who we have been exactly what you said, Joe, about preparing our graduates to go out into their communities and be prepared and be engaged and be leaders. And I certainly didn't start that. That was started long before me. But we just have a culture here and our employees that work here they live and breathe that, and it's just seen and embodied in their work each and every day. In addition to the mission focus, it just requires constant, continuous, and consistent listening um, to our students first and foremost, but then also to our employers and our partners out in the workforce. Because if you're working to prepare students for what's next, you need to talk to those who will be involved in what's next. And so listening is a huge part of that. And then making changes based on what we see and what we hear and what we think is best for not only our students and our graduates, but the institution and the communities that our graduates go and live and work and lead in.
Yeah, well, you're definitely carrying that torch forward. And beyond all that, all the activities that you're leading on campus, you're an outsized player in our community as well. I want to really commend you for that. That you're really taking the Grandview mission, the Grandview brand into different sectors of influence around our state and around our community. And you're a model of how to connect the university to an external audience and build networks and build partnerships. So why do you think it's so important for someone in your position to be so engaged outside of the typical campus or academic settings?
Mm. A couple of things come to mind. When I was named president at Briarcliff 9 years ago, I had the opportunity to attend the Harvard Institute for New Presidents seminar. And one of the first things that the facilitator said to us, there were about 50 of us in the cohort from all over the world, and she said, "You are the living logo of your
Mm.
institution." And so, even if you're in your sweats at the grocery store, never forget that you are the living logo of your institution. And certainly lived that in Sioux City when I was at Briarcliff and have just carried that with me here to Des Moines. Um, I, I cannot tell you how welcoming Des Moines has been to my husband Jim and I from the moment we arrived here. Nearly, in fact, before we arrived here, nearly, well, 4 years ago, more than 4 years ago, we were attending events before while we were still living in Sioux City. And back to your original question, number one, it's just part of who I am. You may not know this, but I have moved 36 times in my lifetime and have lived in
Did not know
16 different cities in the state of Iowa alone, let alone the five other states that I've lived in. And if I've learned one thing, it's about the fastest way to make a home for yourself is to get out of your
that.
home and to get out into the community and meet people and listen to their stories and share your story. And nothing brings me greater joy than to share the Grandview story. Love doing that and love, I think I like to say that we're a hidden gem that's not so hidden anymore. When I first started this process 4 years ago, we were kind of hidden. Um, and now it's just fun to hear. Of course, athletics is a huge thing that brings people together. And having won 3 national team titles this past year was a lot of fun. I think I'm on my seventh national championship ring in 4 years. So that's a lot of fun.
That's a pretty good record.
I should have worn one
Pretty
for
good.
you today. I
I
didn't. I
know,
didn't think to
yeah,
wear
yeah.
one.
Goodness. Well, we talk a lot about higher education and the role that sector plays in obviously educating our future workforce here in Iowa. And as a member of the Business Council's Business Education Alliance, what do you see as some opportunities where the business and higher education community can continue to collaborate and even build a more prosperous Iowa?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be a part of the Business Education Alliance. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Another thing you may not know about me is that I have been both a student and an employee at all three types of higher education in our country, the Regents Institution, the community college sector, and the private higher education sector. Um, it's just so incredibly important for the industry and business sector and the higher education sector to be collaborative and joined together. We need to know what you need, and you can help us determine what those needs are, but then also um, how to actually apply and implement those needs moving forward. We have incredible partnerships. One example is in the healthcare space. Nursing was our first undergraduate degree, and we also have a robust social work and also clinical mental health counseling, in addition to kinesiology and athletic training. And all of those programs require you to have close relationships with those who are out practicing in the workforce. And we have been so blessed to have great partnerships. For example, Unity Point has been and Mercy have been two of our consistent highest organizations that hire our graduates when they leave Grandview. And so that continued collaboration in both directions. We can learn from each other. I absolutely agree and think that business and industry can learn from education as well. Because if you think about where we are and where we're going, the pace of change has never been slower than it is right now. And it's now faster than when I said that a couple of seconds ago. And change requires continual learning, continual adaptation, and a mindset that fosters and enjoys change. Because if you are not excited about learning for the rest of your life, you're already behind. Um, AI is, this, AI is changing everything, some in good ways and some in bad ways. For me, for some people, it's terrifying. For me, it's exciting. I think there are so many opportunities for growth and efficiency and effectiveness. And it really, for me as a president personally, AI has helped me to free up some of my time to focus on what I do best, which is um, create and cast a vision, communicate, strategize, dream. And when you're just, slogging through emails and drafting yet another speech, those are all important. But if you can speed those up and make those more efficient, it frees up the human creative for more things that we were uniquely designed for.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we'll get more in depth in AI um, in a moment, but I want to stay on higher education for a moment because
Yeah.
I think it's really important to remind people the critical value that higher education provides a person, an individual. The data consistently show that a bachelor's degree translates into higher wages, greater employment stability, and potentially more than $1 million in additional lifetime earnings, let alone the societal impacts, like more likely to own a home and participate in government and participate in volunteer opportunities. That's good for individuals, that's good for families, it's good for employers, and it's really good for Iowa's economy.
Mhm.
How does Grandview fit into this narrative, this reality?
Well, one of the things about a place like Grandview, we get no taxpayer funded dollars, and so we've always had to be agile and nimble and ingenuous and resourceful. And so this perceived narrative about higher education and the no value in higher education is simply wrong. Um, we're always going to need an educated workforce. Now, that's not to say that there aren't other pathways of education depending on what sort of profession you want to be in. That's not to say that those other pathways aren't important too. But we're always going to need medical professionals. We're always going to need educators. We're always going to need lawyers and all of these things. You want someone who knows what they're doing, not sitting here looking at AI telling them what to do while they perform open heart surgery on you, for example. I mean, that's an extreme example, but if you look at the history of this country and the revolutions, industrial revolution and the information revolution and all of those things, that it's because of ingenuity and creativity and innovation, not always because of higher education, but higher education has certainly been a part of that. And if you look at AI in particular, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that in specificity, but AI is demonstrating and showing us that the human side of work and the human side of creativity and innate human value is even more important. And that is even more highlighted, illuminated, and elevated in a higher education realm. One of the things we do so well at Grandview, because of our Danish Lutheran heritage, is prepare students to learn about and discern and then live out their vocation. What and that's a Lutheran term, but it's really, what is your purpose? Why are you
Mhm.
here, and how are you uniquely designed and positioned to help others? And that can be in a workforce situation, or it can be in a community or government, or even just in your family. And if you're never exposed to those ideas, if you're never exposed to that sort of thinking, um, you're never going to fully step into who you were designed to be, or the potential for who you can become. That's not to say that we can't maybe incorporate some of those ideas into the K-12 realm. But we have so many other foundational, fundamental things that need to be taught in the K-12 arena. That's why it's called higher education. It's next level. It's now what?
Yeah, yeah, well said. Let's talk a little bit about the Jacobson Institute at
Yes.
Grandview. Under your leadership, Grandview has refocused the Jacobson Institute to meet not only innovation through education, but accelerate a mindset to support workforce needs in 2030 and beyond. What more can you tell us about the Institute, and where would you see its future potential?
We are so fortunate that the late Dick Jacobson gave such a generous gift to Grandview, really designed to highlight innovation in education. And so, where we've taken that in the last couple of years is, rather than that traditional education, which we already have a very robust and stable foundation in the formalized higher education and teaching education, we've decided to branch out into that non-degree seeking space, which is exploding across the world, right? Credentials and certificates and all of those things that you can literally get at the click of a mouse, should you want to get it. One of the problems, however, with all of those offerings that are out there is there's really no oversight. There's really no um, um, organized body that is assessing and evaluating the effectiveness and the value of those. The Jacobson Institute being affiliated with a university, our reputation and our integrity is on the line. And so that's front and center as we think about what can that non-degree seeking space look like through the Jacobson Institute at Grandview University. So a couple of things that we've done. You actually, thank you for joining us last month for our, I think it was our fourth annual Business Innovators Breakfast that is co-hosted by Grandview and the Jacobson Institute. The idea behind that is a little bit of what I talked about earlier, getting feedback from our business leaders, and information from our business leaders about what we may or may not know about what's needed from a place like the Jacobson Institute or Grandview. And those conversations are absolutely critical to us. The very first one that we did 4 years ago, we really focused on the skills that are present, the skills that are lacking, and the skills that will be needed looking out into the future. This last one was on entrepreneurship and small business. And as the head of the Iowa Business Council, there is a growing base of entrepreneurship, and it has exploded since COVID, in the state of Iowa in particular. And so part of what Dr. Skylar Mayberry Mays, who is the executive director of the Jacobson Institute, part of what he is doing is focusing on that population in addition to those who are already in the workforce and maybe looking to reskill, or maybe they have to reskill, right? If they've had a pivot in their career, voluntary or otherwise. And really just thinking about how can we design and deliver those skills-based trainings and teachings outside of a formal degree-seeking higher education space. And then the Jacobson Institute, we call it the JI, focuses on those early career, mid-career, and then those who are pivoting in their careers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great event. Really good connections made there, and again, just really applaud you and the team for constantly thinking about what's next, right? Recognizing the thing that's next on the horizon that the state and the university needs to tackle. So I want to come back and ask you a couple of questions about AI. Of course, you can't have any one of these conversations without asking and having a conversation about AI. And we have had a lot of conversations at our board meetings, at different committees across the Iowa Business Council platform on this subject. Our last Business Education Alliance symposium, in fact, was entirely centered around this topic. So from your perspective as president of Grandview University, how is Grandview embracing AI, and how are you working with your team and students and providing them the AI literacy tools or trainings to make sure that they're engaging in this opportunity so that they're, career ready in this new reality? And what would you say on that topic with AI?
Okay, how much time do we have?
Yeah, right. As long as
Right?
you want. It's a webcast.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so AI is everywhere. Not just in the classroom, but also in the institution, embedded in the institution. AI is being used to recruit not only prospective and future students, but also prospective and future employees. It's used to help cull through the information and determine best fit. I use AI personally, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But from a student perspective, and this kind of ties into the Jacobson Institute too, we want every student, every graduate to be familiar with and comfortable with and even fluent with AI. Now, that may look different depending on what discipline you are studying or what sector you are planning to go into. I mean, AI in the healthcare realm versus AI in the law, for example, may look different. And so the idea behind that is to introduce and familiarize and gain confidence and competence in those areas in the industry or discipline specific areas. We are infusing AI across not only our academic programs, but also across the core, which is what we think of as that general foundational education piece. There are conversations about ethics and about privacy and about usage. So one of the things, of course, that you can imagine is a huge conversation in the higher education realm is the ethics of allowing AI to be used by students, whether it's for in class or during a test or to create a project that's due or even write a paper. Well, the floodgates are open. It's pretty hard to put those back, but part of the conversation that we're having, not only with faculty but also with students, is the reality is you could probably, if you were ambitious, you could probably use AI to fake your way to a degree. It's just incredibly difficult to police and stop the usage of AI. But here's what will happen should you do that. You are shortchanging yourself. You may walk away with a degree and you'll get out into the workforce and you will fail because you don't know what to do. Now, you may make it for a while because maybe you can fake your way as being a valuable employee using AI. Again, depending on what the industry or discipline is that you're going into. And so, part of the approach that we are taking at Grandview is a balanced approach, recognizing and realizing that the floodgates are open, but also what's the responsible teachings and information that students need to know about AI. It's one thing for me to use AI to help me write a speech or prepare for the Iowa BizCast podcast, right? But I can't sit here and use AI to answer these questions. or
Right.
to be interviewed by a reporter, or to welcome prospective students and their families to campus. You can't fake that. AI isn't going, I mean, I suppose maybe if I had really, really good technology, I could have an earbud in and it's telling me what to do, but that's not reality. And
Right.
so you still have to be a balanced and holistically educated person if you want to succeed, and keep going and keep learning and
Right.
growing and being curious about what's next.
Yeah, it comes back to that lifelong learner aspect that you talked about earlier, for sure.
Hmm.
You hinted at this, be really curious to know how you're using AI personally, professionally, in your world.
Well, it's interesting, Joe. Since you contacted me about this, and since this has been on my calendar, I've actually had four um, opportunities arise around AI. Actually, one of them happened. So in January, I was a speaker at the Council for Independent Colleges President's Institute, and I specifically talked about presidency and the AI, or excuse me, AI and the
Mhm.
presidency. How can you, as a
Yep.
president, familiarize yourself with AI and use it? And there were actually three of us involved, and one of the presidents talked about, okay, you're a beginner, and how do you think about bringing AI to your institution? And then the other
Mhm.
president talked about, okay, you're a little more advanced institutionally. How can you take it to the next level utilizing AI? And then I personally talked about how I use it as a president and how presidents can use AI to be more effective in their presidency. So I had that speaking engagement, and then I've been invited to author a chapter in a book on AI and education that will be coming out later this year. That is the entire book is written by presidents across the United States. And then I was on a podcast last week about AI, and then I'm heading to Charlotte, North Carolina Monday morning, and we'll be speaking on a president's panel in Charlotte at a summit for about 1,000 higher education leaders. And of course, you have your big land grant institutions and those presidents, and then here I am at an institution of about 2,000 students, and how do we make that work on a MacGyver shoestring budget, so to speak? And I date myself when I say MacGyver. A lot of people don't know who that is, but it's
I
like,
know who you're talking about. I get it. I get it.
how do you make AI work with gum and a rubber band and a paperclip, right?
Exactly.
And so personally for me, I use it all the time. I use it to help manage my inbox. I use it to prepare for speaking engagements. A lot of times I take my phone with me when I'm on a walk because I use it to listen to a book or music.
Mhm.
And a thought will occur to me, and I throw it into. I actually have four AI engines that I use on a regular basis, and they all have a name.
Mm.
So I have named them, and they recognize me. And one of the things that I shared when I was speaking at the President's Institute in January is how to train your AI.
Yeah.
So I have this work in progress, ongoing document that is about me. It's about my background, and but it's also about my voice. It's about how I want to sound, the message that I want to deliver, the persona that I want to portray, the language and the voice in which I want to speak. And I have to keep training it, and them, all four of them. I have to keep training them and keep adding to this document. But it's amazing once you say, I always want to speak in a warm, friendly, but also clear, compelling way as a two-time university president. Those kinds of things. It's kind of fun to sometimes I'll test it and use my husband's AI, and I'll use the exact same prompt, and nothing alike, because
Oh,
I've
interesting.
trained my
Yeah.
AI to know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. That's very cool. That's very cool. There's a lot of different ways you can go with that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I also internally I use it for uh, keeping ongoing conversations with my direct reports, evaluations. It's really kind of like my external memory bank a little bit too, which is important. You know, the older we get and the more information that's up there, you have to pick and choose what's going to stay in there because there's not any space left. Um, and then I use it quite a bit when I am communicating with and preparing for my board meetings with my board of trustees, how to synthesize and communicate reams and hordes of information into a clear and concise and compelling narrative so that someone who doesn't spend their whole day in this space can understand it quickly and clearly.
Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting. You've given me like 1,000 ideas on how to
Oh
create my
yeah.
own little bots.
Oh
That's
yeah.
really good.
Oh yeah. And
Okay, so
it can
yeah,
prepare your PowerPoints for you too. I mean, again, as you train it, Gamma is a great app to use for that. Just and it doesn't always give you exactly what you want. It gets better the more you use it, but it gives you something to start with, so you don't always have to start with a blank slate. And it'll give you ideas on do you want a pie chart, a pie graph, or a bar chart, or a line graph, and things like that. Because you and I both know that visuals are a very, very impactful way to deliver information, especially data. And it's tedious and time consuming to create that from scratch. And AI can absolutely be a time saver in that
yeah,
regard.
just to kind of like have a jumping off point. Like, you kind of know conceptually where you want to go. You can just get it
Mhm.
into a system, and then it really just kind of helps launch.
Mhm.
Hopefully, if you're using it right, help you launch you down the path to getting something in a presentable way or a more cogent thought. So I'm with you 100% on that.
It's interesting too, as you one of the things that we're seeing in the education space is um, you know how we already recognize and understand that handwriting is going by the wayside as people are typing either on their devices or on their laptops. That's starting to fall by the wayside as well because so many young people in particular are just, walking around talking into their AI and telling it kind of word vomiting, right? And
Yeah.
telling it what they want to do, like exactly what you said, Joe. Okay, here's my initial conception. This is kind of what I'm thinking. These are some ideas that I had. What do you think, and what would you recommend?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot less typing and a lot more talking, which is good and bad. You could maybe get there faster with talking, but man, don't go to a Starbucks.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Talk about noise pollution.
Right. Yeah. Get the noise canceling headphones if you do.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of move into our leadership lightning round here. Our last set of questions are for those who have listened before, similar questions, a bit more personal, but I think people are really interested in how leaders, and particularly for you as a leader in higher education, we haven't had really many university presidents on the BizCast before, but how you structure your day, channel your intake of information and industry news, how you stay on top of everything while also engaging hopefully in some sort of personal endeavors as well. So let's start off. I know you're on the road all the time, waking up in different cities all the time, but what's your ideal morning routine? When do you get to the office if you're going to the office, and how do you structure your morning in a way that leads to a successful day?
Well, I am a 4:15 a.m.er and
Okay.
have been for years. People think I'm crazy. I'm going to bed at 8:30, so stick a fork in me, I'm done. Um, but for me, in terms of energy management and energy growth, I do my best thinking in the morning. That's when I'm currently writing a book. That's when I generally spend time writing. I often will tackle those toughest or at least those deeper problems in the morning. Often I will block out time so that I can get those things done and save the afternoon for meetings, which don't require quite as much headspace. And I really learned that rhythm in my 20 years as an attorney.
Mhm.
Um, when I had to be totally in control of my time and energy. And as an attorney, of course, time is money,
Yeah.
because you charge by the minute, basically, as
Yeah.
an attorney. And so, really learned how to wisely manage my time. Um, and then it's different. I'm probably, because I've been an entrepreneur and a business owner, I'm not always that traditional 9 to 5. You need to be sitting in the office at this time. I mean, as you said it, Joe, I'm often traveling. I'm often at a coffee shop here, there, or otherwise, around the state and around the metro, meeting with people and having conversations about Grandview. And it's not always, well, I have to get to the office by 7 o'clock
Right.
every morning.
Right.
And especially post COVID, I mean, I'm in my home office today, and this is my office as well. My phone is my office.
Yep.
My email is my office. I mean, and that's been an interesting culture shift at Grandview as well. Um, is demonstrated value is not necessarily tied to hours spent in the seat on campus.
Right.
And that's hard for
Right.
people who are used to that. Well, I'm here every day at 8 o'clock and I stay until all hours of the night. Well, good on you. That's your choice. And if that's how you work, and it's great that you recognize that that's how you work. But others, wake up at 2 a.m. and have their best thought. Not me, but some people do. And
You're
again,
two
it's
hours later. You're two
yeah,
hours
exactly.
later.
My mom is a late night person, and sometimes we're ships passing in the night. Like I'm just getting up and she's just going to, especially when they're in Arizona and in a different time zone, but
Yeah, that's
kind of
good.
fun. So yeah, mornings are I do my best work.
That's great. That's great. So, how do you stay informed on all of the news, all of the topics that are relevant to your industry and the community and Grandview specifically? I mean, you have to keep on top of a lot of things. How do you fit that consumption of news or industry publications into your day?
Here's where AI comes in. Because rather than me having to cull through what everyone else thinks is relevant, I can tell AI, find what's relevant to me, and here's what I need to know, and or here are topics that I'm interested in, as it affects and impacts the university, or as it affects and impacts me. And I like to call that curating my me feed, because what I need and what I want may be different from what you need and what you want. And back in the day before AI, you just had to slog through it yourself, and grab what headlines speak to me and are reaching out to me. Otherwise, you can tell AI, this is what I want to know, and or this is what I should know, and so find it for me each day.
Right, right. So I know you've written books. You're currently writing a chapter in a book, but is there a book that you're currently reading or you've recently finished that you would recommend to others?
Mm. I probably, in all fairness, I probably have about 30 books that I'm currently
Yeah, I
reading.
know you're a big reader. Yeah.
Uh, it's just, it's funny because you can't see it, but this is all books down below here. But also I read on my phone, and I have a Kindle, and I have probably 5 or 6 books, both in my office at work and also next to my chair in the living room. 2 books that I'm reading right now that are kind of interesting. One is called The Meaning of Life by Arthur C. Brooks, and he
Yeah.
is a professor at Harvard and is also kind of on the speaking circuit a lot lately, which is fun. And he has written several books that I've read. This one is just his newest one that came out in April. And it's despite everything that's going on in the world, and we have access to information more than ever before, people feel as though they don't have meaning in their lives. And so he talks about what does meaning mean, and how do you create it if you feel like you don't have it. Interesting book, and I love the way he writes, and I love his rhythm and cadence. I'm also reading a new book called Primal Intelligence, and so my book that I'm writing is about intelligence.
Hmm.
The working title is self-cue intelligence, and so rather than the concepts of IQ and EQ, it's what is your cue,
Yeah.
self-cue, and what does it mean for you, and how do you know it and then grow it and do what you need to do. And that's really what education is about as we move into the future. It's less about you fitting into the curriculum that we create, and you just need to fit into it. It's about customizing for you, the student. And so how can I customize intelligence, understand myself, and then grow it moving forward? And Primal Intelligence is this new book just came out. It's kind of about we all have this innate intelligence that has nothing to do with logic, and it has nothing to do with math or some of the factors that the traditional IQ measurements measure.
Hmm.
But it's intuition, and it's that gut feeling, and it's you know it in your knower kind of thing. And there is and I'm drawing a blank on it, Joe. I feel like it's a university. It's either in Florida or Ohio, and isn't that crazy that I would confuse the two? But anyway, it came out of years of study at a university, and then they incorporated it into the military,
Oh, wow.
and saw demonstrated growth in competence and confidence in areas that other forms of teaching did not impact. So I'm very, very early. I'm only about a third of the way through that book, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we've written those down. We'll add it to our book club list.
There you
Uh,
go.
Pencil. Okay, so that's books. Are you watching anything, binging anything that you'd like to recommend? And no judgment, despite what it is you might be watching, no judgment here.
Well, okay, so my husband's more of a TV watcher than I am, and so often I'm watching whatever he's watching. He's finally convinced me to make it through Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So we are in season 5,
Wow.
and it's interesting. It's
It's
interesting.
intense.
I've
Yeah.
read the books and I love the books, and so now I'm going through the actual show. Loved Ted Lasso. Have seen it probably 3 times. Can't wait for the next season to come out in August. And it's going to be about women's soccer this
Yeah.
time, which I absolutely love. And it's kind of fun. Jason Sudeikis is from Kansas City area, and they were doing some filming down there this past summer, or maybe it was last fall. And our youngest son Cameron and his wife live in Topeka, and they were singing karaoke in a bar one night, and the whole cast and crew was in there, and that was kind of fun.
No kidding. That's great.
So love Ted Lasso. And then I like though, and I don't do this, I just like them, but I like those home improvement shows, like
Right.
Magnolia and Fixer Upper. And I don't do any of that, but it's fun to watch other people do it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. It seems like a good idea. I'm not going to do it, but yeah,
Exactly.
it's a good
I don't
idea.
have space for that in my life,
Yeah.
but you do that. It's interesting.
Okay, on a more serious note, what's the most important thing a leader can do in today's world?
I thought about this question, and it kind of it ties into what we were talking about earlier with AI and the changes moving forward. But I think the most important thing right now that a leader can do is demonstrate and model and also foster curiosity. And sometimes that's hard because if you're a traditional leader and time is money, curiosity can seem like a waste of money, but it's not. And it's definitely what drives innovation and change and progress. And I think it's important for leaders to make space for that. And on the flip side of that is giving permission and agency to let go of things that maybe are sacred, or the sacred cow in your organization, but it's no longer working. And we need to really assess and evaluate whether this is something we need to keep doing. Because if you're always, I use this example, if you buy new clothes but there's no room in your closet, where are you going to put this new jacket or whatever? You really do need to purge and get rid of those things that are no longer of value or use to make room for what is.
Yeah, that's a great insight. That's really good. Last question. What makes you optimistic about the future of Iowa?
As I shared with you earlier, I've lived in 16 cities in the state of Iowa, and about to be 17. Where my husband and I are in the process of moving to Ankeny from Urbandale. We have two brand new grandbabies, first grand kiddos. They're 3 months and 1 month old, and they both live in Ankeny, and that's too far away from me. So I'm moving to Ankeny. But back to your question, I just finished and just graduated from Leadership Iowa. And actually wanted to do it years and years ago when I was at Briarcliff, got accepted into the program, but it just never worked with my board schedule. Can't miss my board meetings to go to Leadership Iowa. And so, but what that showed me, that 9 month journey, is that, and I see it every day in the classroom at Grandview, is Iowa is well positioned for the future. Our leaders and our future leaders love this place, are excited about this place. Having lived all over the state, it's not just the metro that I've been exposed to. I've lived in very, very small communities, and then also some of the largest cities in Iowa. I could go anywhere. I could work anywhere. I mean, I have a PhD and a JD. I mean, you can imagine the job opportunities that come my way, but I love this state and have no desire to go anywhere else. Of course, most of the people I love are here too, and that's important, right? At the end of the day, I mean, I'm in the state and wanting to move closer to
Right.
my kiddos and grandkiddos in the state, but I had coffee yesterday with a young woman who is a graduate student at Yale,
Wow.
but she's from Iowa, and she was kind of picking my brain about what should she do next in her educational journey. And it struck me that she said, I've been at Yale now. She just finished her first year of her master's degree program. She was an Iowa State undergrad. And she said, it's become very evident to me, although I am loving my time here, I'm coming back to Iowa.
Yeah.
Those are my people. And it's just the culture and the community that I want to be in. And I love that because young people are recognizing and understanding the value and the beauty of Iowa and its people in particular. And I just think that I'm excited. I'm excited about the future of Iowa. I think we have the demographics of Iowa are changing, and we recognize that, and we see that, and we're preparing for that. And how do we just continue to grow and foster the best state in the nation?
Yeah. Well said. Well, we share that enthusiasm and
Mhm.
optimism. And Rachelle, thank you so much for joining us today on the Iowa BizCast. You're an incredible leader, a gifted university administrator, entrepreneur, law degree holder. You do it all. So we really appreciate your leadership and your service with the Iowa Business Council's Business Education Alliance. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Rachelle.